Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, children.
Good
How
afternoon, ma'am.
are you all?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. How is everybody
Good
doing?
afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, how are you?
Ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Vicha. Can we have the cameras on, please?
Ma'am,
Good afternoon, okay, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Yes, Daksh. Speak up.
ma'am, in the group you have sent geographic terms photo, so that we have to write in our copy, rough copy.
Yes, in the notebooks you have to do it. Right?
Ma'am, with definitions.
Of course, the key terms which are in the chapter itself.
No, ma'am.
No,
Yes.
ma'am. Ma'am, group. You have sent on group.
Right now I have sent some photo, terms.
No, ma'am. Ma'am, before that.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, beta Zehra.
Ma'am, Paridhi is saying that she is not able to open her mic and camera. It sometimes shows that the host is not allowing.
Actually, I have not done anything. Listen, I have not done anything. Tell her, tell the child to rejoin, okay? And Shreyansh,
I have also rejoined because I'm not able to open my mic.
exactly. There are certain, glitch hai ye. I have not done anything because many a times the students are complaining. Acha, this I have said no. This was just for your knowledge, so that you can
Ma'am,
differentiate.
this.
Yes, I got it. Arshia has shown. This was just
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Sarthak. This was just to tell you that how how the terms are different, right?
Good afternoon. Okay, ma'am.
Good afternoon. If you can get out of, if you can take out a printout of this and stick in the geography notebook, that will look better. Okay.
Ma'am,
Okay, ma'am.
Can you please resend it to me on personal number because I have changed now my mobile number.
I'll do that.
Yes, ma'am, on the group also.
Fine.
B
I'll
group.
send it again on the groups. Right? Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, can you please send now?
Just now,
Yes, ma'am, so that I can take the printout.
I'll do it. I'll do it after the immediately after the class. I'll do it. Okay. First of all,
Tomorrow.
seventh A students. Beta, seventh A students.
Are you telling to get a printout? Ma'am, I think tomorrow I'll show
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Can
Tomorrow.
Arshia send it to Punita? Yes, Punita, Arshia.
Ma'am, I have sent
sending
to
you.
Punita.
Okay,
Oh,
ma'am.
Ma'am, I have also sent to Punita.
Then Arshia, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. You are saying something?
I was saying that I am taking attendance, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Now I have taken the screenshot. Wait a second. And attendance I will be taking in the last 10 minutes. I'll be taking the attendance, right? Because there are many students, those who are there initially, but then they leave the meeting. Okay?
Ma'am, at the last
Rashi Parmar, who is with the name of Rashi Parmar?
Ma'am, it would be Netik because he has
Ma'am,
the
it's me.
surname of Netik Parmar.
Change
Ma'am,
your
Netik.
name. Netik Parmar of which class C section?
Ma'am, 7C.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Netik Parmar. Fine. Got it.
Ma'am, I have sent a picture on the group.
Thank
Ma'am,
you,
please
Satyam.
tell which printouts are you talking about?
Beta, I am talking about.
Ma'am, I have sent it on the
Ma'am, you have not sent this picture on our group.
No, beta, in all the classes, in all the groups, I have sent this. Can you see it?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Right? Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Ji, bacha.
Ma'am, can you resend that photo?
I'll send
Sushant,
it
I
again.
have sent it on group. 7th A.
Those who,
Geography.
Those who have the photos with them, they can send it, but just one photo, okay? Chaliye, we were on.
Sushant has sent on the personal window. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Chalo. Fine. We were on factors affecting atmospheric pressure. I explained about the pressure belts to you, and the wind system also I explained, right?
Ma'am, can you just tell the summary of pressure belts?
What did you say, Sarthak beta?
Ma'am, can you explain the pressure belts once again?
I'm showing you one animation, right? Give me just 1 minute. I'll share the screen with you all.
Ma'am, we will discuss on case study also.
We'll do that also. But first, this one. I need to type the.
Ma'am,
Yes, bacha.
ma'am, in the case study given on page number 131 on cyclone area,
Ma'am, Indian
India,
May
ma'am,
2009.
May 2009. Ma'am, this came when I was born.
Acha.
Ma'am, I was born on 2009 in December. In my
Are you happy that the schools are opening again? Ma'am, are you happy?
Yes, schools are opening again. Yes.
Ma'am, but ma'am, if 10th
Yes,
is
ma'am,
not
are you
filled,
happy?
so we will cannot come.
Huh?
Ma'am, if
Yes,
10
ma'am, so are
students
you
ma'am not
happy?
filled.
Is the sound audible?
Yes, no, ma'am. Very low.
But very low.
Ma'am, it's just audible.
Yes, ma'am, low.
It is low. Wait a second. I'll increase the sound.
In this video, we shall learn about the various.
Can you hear?
Ma'am, from the side, may you
Yes,
will
ma'am,
just
now.
increase the volume.
Okay, I'll increase the volume.
Ma'am,
Sense behind the development of pressure vector.
Ma'am,
Consideration
there is an option for sharing audio.
of land,
Can you-
water distribution.
Where is the option?
yes, ma'am, now it's fine.
Ma'am, that's in mobile phones, not in laptops.
Southern
Ma'am,
hemisphere.
now it's fine.
Hemisphere
No, ma'am, it's in both, but it's fine now.
5° north and 5° south. Equatorial region receives nearly vertical rays of the sun, and this heats up the air near the equator.
Shall I start it from the
Temperature
beginning?
increases, pressure decreases.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Please take it in full screen.
Low pressure,
Taking it on the full screen as well.
And ma'am, turn on the subtitles.
It is not turning on, beta. I tried that. I tried that, but it is not showing. I don't know why.
Subtitles closed.
It is showing subtitle, but I switched it on. Just a second.
Ma'am, it is switched when the speaker will speak, then it will come.
Then fine. Okay.
Ma'am, I think you have paused it.
I have paused the video.
in this video, we shall learn about
Volume is full.
Yes, ma'am, it's fine. If it will be not,
Ma'am, now
then
it's audible.
Okay, let's start now. Listen carefully, okay?
In this video, we shall learn about the various pressure belts and wind patterns that have developed on planet Earth. While understanding the basic concepts behind the development of pressure belts, we will not take into consideration the tilt of the axis and the influence of land-water distribution. The equator divides the globe into southern hemisphere and northern hemisphere, and equatorial belt extend up to 5 degree north and 5 degree south. Equatorial region receives nearly vertical rays of the sun, and this heats up the air near the equator. When temperature increases, pressure decreases. So along the equator we have low pressure, and we call this region as equatorial low pressure belt. The warm air starts rising up in the troposphere, and as the warm air is rising, the temperature drops. After rising up to a certain point, it stops rising upwards because it becomes cooler and it is obstructed by tropopause. So the air spreads out. The air starts moving in the southern and northern direction. As the air is moving, it becomes denser, and after a certain point, it sinks down to the surface. So at around 30° north and south, we have sinking air. This sinking air is cool air, so it forms high pressure systems. These regions are called as subtropical high pressure belts because these regions lie outside the tropical region and at the same time adjoining the tropical region. The sinking air now moves towards north and south. So along the equator, the warm air rises, spreads out, and cools and sinks down. In this way, it develops convectional currents. At the poles, the sun rays are very much inclined. So we have cold air that sinks. These regions are known as polar highs. In the northern hemisphere, the air moves towards the south, and in the southern hemisphere, the air moves towards north. At this point, we have air coming from north and south. So at this point, the air converges and rises up. These regions are known as subpolar lows. So at 60° latitudes, we have low pressure system because we have rising air. Along the equator, the air is rising because of convection, and at subpolar lows, we have rising air because of convergence. This rising air also spreads out, cools and sinks. Same things happen in the southern hemisphere. On the surface of the earth, along the equator, the winds move from high pressure regions to low pressure regions. That is from subtropical highs to the equatorial low in the northern and southern hemisphere. These winds bend to the right in the northern hemisphere, and in the southern hemisphere, the winds bend to the left. And this is described as Coriolis Effect. The winds bend to the right and left in the northern and southern hemisphere respectively because the earth is spherical in shape and the earth rotates from west to east. In the same way, in between 30 and 60° north and south, the wind bends towards right and left in the northern and southern hemispheres respectively. Even at the polar region, the same phenomena can be seen.
Class, once more you want to see this?
Ma'am, this video was
Yes,
too short.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Just
Yes, ma'am.
once more.
Okay, I'll do that.
In this video, we shall learn about the various pressure belts and wind patterns that have developed on planet Earth. While understanding the basic concepts behind the development of pressure belts, we will not take into consideration the tilt of the axis and the influence of land-water distribution. The equator divides the globe into southern hemisphere and northern hemisphere, and equatorial belt extend up to 5° north and 5° south. Equatorial region receives the vertical rays of the sun and this heats up the air near the equator. When temperature increases, pressure decreases. So along the equator we have low pressure, and we call this region as equatorial low pressure. The warm air starts rising up in the troposphere, and as the warm air is rising, the temperature drops. After rising up to a certain point, it stops rising upwards because it becomes cooler and it is obstructed by tropopause. So the air spreads out. The air starts moving in the southern and northern direction. As the air is moving, it becomes cooler, and after a certain point, it sinks down to the surface. So at around 30 degrees north and south, we have air. The sinking air is cool air, so it forms high pressure systems are called as subtropical high pressure belts because it's lying outside the tropical region and at the same time adjoining the tropical region. Air now moves towards north and south. Along the equator, the warm air rises, spreads out, and cools and sinks down. In this way, develops convectional currents. At the poles, the sun rays are very much inclined. So we have cold air that sinks. These are known as polar highs. In the northern hemisphere, the air moves towards the south, and in the southern hemisphere, the air moves towards north. We have air coming from north and south. So at this point, the air converges and rises up. Regions are known as subpolar lows. So at 60-degree latitudes, we have low pressure system because we have rising air. Along the equator, the air is rising because of convection, and at subpolar lows, we have rising air because of convergence. This rising air also spreads out, cools, and sinks. Same things happen in the southern hemisphere. On the surface of the earth, along the equator, the winds move from high pressure regions to low pressure regions. That is from subtropical highs to the equatorial low in the northern and southern hemisphere. These winds bend to the right in the northern hemisphere, and in the southern hemisphere, the winds bend to the left. And this is described as Coriolis Effect. The winds bend to the right and left in the northern and southern hemisphere, respectively, because the earth is spherical in shape and the earth rotates from west to east. In the same way, in between 30 and 60 degree north and south, the wind bends towards right and left in the northern and southern hemispheres, respectively. Even at the polar region, the same phenomena can be seen.
Perform with music.
Anita, I think you are unmuted.
Recommend every child to. There's one-to-one learning normally, like in any other class. If you would go, there are 2-3 people, but she's learning, getting that personal attention. It is so systematic and it is so structured that it is.
Yes, class. Did you understand the pressure belts?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, class.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now we will do the reading part. Okay. Do we have Soumya?
And can I do it?
Beta, Daksh, ek minute. Soumya Kapoor, are you there in the class?
Yes, ma'am.
If you could please open your camera, beta.
Ma'am, actually my net is very low, so I am unable to open my camera.
Did you see the video, beta?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you understood this whole thing? Huh? Have you understood the pressure belts in the wind system? Speak up, Soumya, beta. Out of the meeting, I think. Chaliye. Let us read. I think permanent pressure belts also I explained you in the previous class. Right, class? We have Daksh in the class.
Yes,
no?
ma'am. We have to start with the
Yes,
wind
ma'am.
first.
I am in the class.
Yes. Fine. We have to start from the winds. Now coming to the winds. बेटा ये अपने आप को प्लीज म्यूट करो, ये आवाज अलग अलग से नहीं आनी चाहिए बच्चा. Right? Okay, can we have Kavya Kapoor reading winds? Page 130.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I can. Yes, ma'am. I can read. Page number 130. Winds. The horizontal movement of air is called wind. Wind always blow from high pressure areas to low pressure areas. They are named after the direction from which they blow. The direction of wind is measured by the wind vane, while the speed of the wind is measured by an anemometer. Planetary winds. These winds blow in the same direction throughout the year. Thus, they are known as prevailing or permanent winds. They are of three types. Trade winds. Trade winds blow from the subtropical high pressure belt to the equatorial low pressure belt, in both the hemispheres. The westerlies blow from the subtropical high pressure belt to the subpolar low pressure belts in both the hemispheres. The polar winds. The polar winds blow the polar high pressure belt to the subpolar low pressure belt in both the hemispheres. Periodic winds blow in a particular direction during a specific time of the day or a season. The monsoon winds, also called seasonal winds, are the best examples of periodic winds. Land and sea breeze and mountain and valley breeze are other examples. Local winds. Local winds blow over small areas for a short duration and are associated with weather changes. They are known by local names such as Lu in India, Chinook in North America, Hoen in Europe, Harmattan in North America, and Mistral in the North Mediterranean coast. Variable winds. Variable winds blow for a short durations and change their speed and direction frequently. Clones and anticlones are examples of variable winds. When strong winds blow in a spiral motion from the surrounding high pressure area to the low pressure area at the center, it is called a cyclone. It is associated with a heavy rain and is very destructive. In an anticyclone, gentle winds blow out from a high pressure area towards the surrounding low pressure areas. It is associated with the fine weather.
Fine. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Now see, he read about winds. Now what is a wind? Wind is a horizontal movement of air, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Horizontal
Yes, ma'am.
movement of
Horizontal movement of air is called wind.
of air is called wind, right? When we talk of the we all know that these winds, they are always blowing, isn't it?
Ma'am, wind
Yes,
always
ma'am.
high pressure.
Yes, ma'am.
Pressure area.
See, beta, please listen. Now, see, the horizontal movement of air is called wind. Now, when we say winds, we all know that winds, the major factor which decides the characteristics of a wind is the wind direction and the velocity, right? Wind direction and the velocity. Now, the winds which we have, like in the previous class that I took, I told you about easterlies, I told you about westerly, right? Do you remember?
Yes.
Right? So these easterly and westerly, these are the winds. They are named after the direction from where they, in which they move, right? Right? Right, class? The winds, they are,
Yes, ma'am.
they are named on the basis of direction from which they blow. Like if we say easterly, because why we say easterly? Because the winds blowing from the east is called as easterly, right? Right, class?
Yes, ma'am. From the eastern.
Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
How do we know that what is the direction of the wind? With the help of a wind vane, we find that, isn't it? Wind vane is an instrument that tells us about the wind's direction, right? Right, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now, have you seen a wind vane? How does it looks? A wind vane looks like this. There is an arrow on one side, and it is attached with a spinning wheel, and wherever the direction, wherever the
I'm like
wind from, it
It was there in school science park.
it is
Yes,
there.
ma'am.
Yes, it is there in the school science park. Very good. Thank you, Arshia. Yes. So it is actually, there is one arrow on the one side and the other side is without arrow, and whenever the direction, whichever direction the wind comes from, this arrow turns towards that side, right? Right, class?
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
See, so wind vane tells us about the direction of the wind, and if we have to measure the speed of the wind, measure speed of wind, we use anemometer. Right? What do we use to measure the speed of the wind?
Anemometer.
Anemometer.
Right? Anemometer is the instrument which tells us, which measures the speed of the wind. वो बताता है कि स्पीड कितनी तेज है, हवा की स्पीड कितनी तेज है. आपने कई बार देखा होगा ना, मेट्रोलॉजिकल डिपार्टमेंट जो है, जब कभी कई बार स्ट्रॉम्स आते हैं, तो अगले दिन न्यूज़पेपर्स में आता है कि भाई 157 किलोमीटर पर आवर की स्पीड से जो है स्ट्रॉम आया, 170 किलोमीटर पर आवर की स्पीड से जो है ये आया. तो ये कैसे पता चलता है स्पीड? थ्रू दी anemometer. Right, class?
And ma'am, rain George.
जी बेटा. दक्ष क्या कह रहे हो बेटा? बोलो बच्चा.
And ma'am, rain George is used to measure the rainfall.
हाँ, रेन गॉज से जो है हम रेनफॉल के सेंटीमीटर्स को मेजर करते हैं. पूरे ईयर में कितनी रेन हुई वो हम रेन गॉज के द्वारा जो है बताते हैं. ठीक है, पर अभी हम रेन गॉज के बारे में नहीं पढ़ रहे हैं. वी आर रीडिंग ओनली अबाउट दी एनेमोमीटर, विंड के बारे में पढ़ रहे हैं. ठीक है, तो जब हम, इतना क्लियर हुआ आप लोगों को बेटा?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Talk of types of winds. जब हम winds को कैटेगराइज करते हैं into various types, तो हम बताते हैं कि there are basically 4 types of wind. कितने types की होती हैं? 4 types की होती है. Planetary winds, right? ये planetary winds क्या होती है? ये वो winds होती हैं जो कि throughout the year एक पर्टिकुलर डायरेक्शन में ब्लो करती रहती हैं, राइट? राइट?
Yes,
okay, होते हैं बेटा, इनको हम कैटेगराइज करते हैं फर्दर इनटू 3 पार्ट्स. ये आपकी होती है ट्रेड विंड्स, देन दे आर वेस्टर्लीज एंड दे आर ईस्टर्लीज, या इनको हम पोलर विंड्स भी बोलते हैं. ठीक है, राइट? राइट क्लास?
okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
टॉकिंग अबाउट द सेकेंड टाइप ऑफ विंड, ये आपकी होती है पीरियोडिक विंड्स. अब एज द नेम सजेस्ट, ये पीरियोडिक विंड्स वो होती हैं जो कि एक स्पेसिफिक टाइम पीरियड के दौरान, ड्यूरिंग अ स्पेसिफिक टाइम पीरियड इन अ डेज टाइम, ये एक पर्टिकुलर डायरेक्शन में ब्लो करती हैं. जैसे अगर हम इसकी
Ma'am, I thought that they were written on a periodic table.
no, like you have a 40 minutes period no in a day. वैसे तो आपकी बहुत होती है, पर geography only on Wednesdays and Thursdays you have 40 minutes, right? ठीक है, ऐसे ही ये periodic winds होती हैं, they blow in a particular direction during a specific time of the day or a season. जैसे आपके मानसून विंड्स होते हैं, ये आपकी सीजनल विंड्स होती है. ठीक है, उसके बाद लैंड ब्रीज और सी ब्रीज, जिसके बारे में हमने पढ़ा था, ये आपकी पीरियोडिक विंड्स होती है जो कि स्पेसिफिक डे में, डे टाइम पीरियड में और नाइट में जो है ब्लो करती है इन अ पर्टिकुलर डायरेक्शन. राइट?
Yes, ma'am.
देन कमिंग टू द थर्ड टाइप ऑफ विंड, ये हमारी जो थर्ड टाइप ऑफ विंड होती है, ये होती है हमारी लोकल विंड्स. ठीक है, ये लोकल विंड्स क्या होती हैं? ये जो लोकल विंड्स होती हैं, ये पर्टिकुलर लोकेशंस में, कुछ पर्टिकुलर लोकेशंस होती है, उनमें ये सर्कुलेट करती रहती है. ठीक है, अब ये सर्कुलेट कैसे करती हैं? बिकॉज ऑफ द प्रेशर कंडीशन, एटमॉस्फेरिक प्रेशर जिस तरीके से क्रिएट होता है, उस एटमॉस्फेरिक कंडीशंस को ध्यान में रखते हुए these local winds, they blow over small areas for a short duration of time. Am I clear?
Yes,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
अगर हम लोकल विंड्स की बात करें तो आपने सुना होगा गर्मियों में मम्मी लोग कहती है बेटा लू चल रही है बाहर मत जाओ गर्मी लग जाएगी, बोलती है ना मम्मा, ऐसे बोलती है ना?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, this happened with me last year. Ma'am, I got.
Yes, ma'am.
Lu is the local name of the local wind that blows in India during summer season, especially in the month of May and June. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
They have given example of Chinook. Then they have given example of Fohan, Harmattan in northern Africa, Mistral in the northern Mediterranean coast. अलग-अलग regions में, अलग-अलग areas में अलग-अलग type के winds जो हैं, उनके local names होते हैं. ठीक है, तो इंडिया में जो local name है उसको हम बोलते हैं, समर्स में जो चलती है क्या बोलते हैं उसको?
Loo.
Right?
Loo.
Then you come to the.
And loo, is it an English word or just a Hindi?
It is both called in English also, in Hindi also it is called as loo only. ठीक है, L-O-O loo. Then variable. Then the fourth type of winds that we have, it is called the variable winds. Now, what are these variable winds? These variable winds are those winds which are not regular and are of short durations. जैसे लू आपकी रेगुलर विंड है, एक पर्टिकुलर टाइम पीरियड में ब्लो करती है, बट ये जो वेरिएबल विंड्स होते हैं बेटा, ये जो है रेगुलर नहीं होते हैं, एंड दीज आर ओनली फॉर अ शॉर्ट ड्यूरेशन ऑफ टाइम. जैसे साइक्लोन्स कह लो और एंटी साइक्लोन्स जो होते हैं, these are the examples of variable winds. I hope I am clear.
Ma'am,
Yes,
variable
yes,
wind
ma'am.
can come at any time.
हाँ जी, ये वेरिएबल विंड्स जो होते हैं बेसिकली ये आपके कोस्टल रीजन्स में बहुत प्रोमिनेंट होते हैं, और ये आपके जब भी कभी कोस्टल एरिया में जब लो डिप्रेशन एरिया क्रिएट होता है ना बेटा, वहां पे ये ब्लो करती हैं, साइक्लोन्स एंड एंटी साइक्लोन्स. ठीक है,
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
चलिए इतना क्लियर हुआ. 4 टाइप्स ऑफ विंड्स.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, means cyclone is the anticyclone is the antidote of a cyclone.
Excuse me. It's not like that. Sorry. It's not like that. See, when we say, these cyclones, how do cyclones come? See, when the strong winds, they blow in a spiral motion. Spiral motion जानते हैं ना क्या होता है? इस तरीके से. This is the spiral motion. ठीक है? कह रहा है जब winds इस तरीके से spiral motion में blow करती हैं और अपने surrounding areas में, ठीक है? तो क्या होता है? High pressure area जो है वो create हो जाता है. हाई प्रेशर एरिया क्रिएट हो जाता है और ये हाई प्रेशर एरिया से ये जो विंड्स हैं ये लो प्रेशर एरिया की तरफ मुड़ने लगती हैं. ठीक है, जैसे बे ऑफ बंगाल में आपका जब भी हाई प्रेशर क्रिएट होता है तो ये लो प्रेशर एरिया इक्वेटोरियल रीजन की तरफ जो है जाता है, बिकॉज हमारा इक्वेटोरियल जो एरिया है वो हमारा लो प्रेशर का एरिया होता है. ठीक है, और जो हमारा सब ट्रॉपिकल कौन सा वाला होता है, वो वाला दूसरा वाला जो था हमारा, दैट इज दी सब ट्रॉपिकल हाई. जो टेम्परेट जोन है वो सब ट्रॉपिकल हाई होता है, तो सब ट्रॉपिकल हाई से ये इक्वेटोरियल लो की तरफ जो है ये विंड जो है ब्लो करने लगती है. और जब ये कोस्टल एरियाज में स्पेशली ऑन सी बे ऑफ बंगाल की तरफ से जब ये नीचे की तरफ आती हैं तो ये बहुत ज्यादा जो है लो प्रेशर डिप्रेशन क्रिएट कर देती हैं. और डिप्रेशन क्रिएट करने की वजह से बेटा क्या होता है कि साइक्लोन्स जो है वो डेवलप हो जाता है. आपने देखा होगा ना, साइक्लोन्स कुछ इस तरीके से उठते हैं, एकदम से ऐसे तो उठते हैं.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
एग्जैक्टली. तो ये साइक्लोन्स होते हैं जो कि आपका कोस्टल रीजन में बहुत ज्यादा कॉमन होते हैं. आपने देखा ये साइक्लोन्स किस टाइम पे बहुत ज्यादा प्रोमिनेंट होते हैं? विशाखापट्टनम, आपने कई बार सुना होगा कि साइक्लोन्स हैव हिट द कोस्ट ऑफ ओडिशा, साइक्लोन्स हैव हिट द कोस्ट ऑफ विशाखापट्टनम, कोस्ट ऑफ आंध्र प्रदेश. ये कौन से सीजन में आपको बहुत प्रोमिनेंट लगते हैं? आपने देखा होगा सितंबर अक्टूबर में बहुत ज्यादा प्रोमिनेंट होते हैं.
Ma'am, it's monsoon season.
नहीं, मानसून के बाद होते हैं बेटा, सितंबर अक्टूबर में होते हैं. उसका रीजन ये होता है कि ये रिट्रीटिंग मानसून जो होती है ना, जो लौटते हुए मानसून होते हैं, जब आप अभी हम पढ़ाएंगे इसके बारे में भी आपको, ये जो रिट्रीटिंग मानसून होते हैं उसके ड्यूरिंग दैट ड्यूरेशन ऑफ टाइम ये जब वापस लौट रहे होते हैं तब ये कोस्टल एरिया पे जो है लो डिप्रेशन एरियाज क्रिएट करते हैं, जिसकी वजह से साइक्लोन्स आते हैं बेटा. ठीक है, और कई बार क्या होता है, एक एल निनो इफेक्ट भी होता है. बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, फैक्टर्स हैं, छोटे छोटे दैट यू विल कम classes. हाँ जी सानिया, today you are very late to the class, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am, because I'm not connecting. From me, at the last minute, I'm connected.
Ma'am, I think, ma'am, you have taken attendance.
I have taken
Ma'am,
but I have taken the screenshots.
Ma'am, your voices isn't coming.
Am I not audible, children?
Ma'am, your voice is coming.
It's audible.
Bye, ma'am.
बेटा ये क्लियर हो गया, साइक्लोन्स वाला क्लियर हुआ आप लोगों को?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything in this not clear or understood? Winds and winds types में?
No, ma'am. Everything is clear.
चलो ठीक है. Tomorrow we'll be reading about humidity, condensation and precipitation. Right? Right, class? The meeting is going to end.
Bye, ma'am. Have a great day.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye,
Bye,
beta.
ma'am.
There I
Bye,
see.
ma'am.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
ma'am. Thank you.
Harshdeep, you are in which class, beta?
Ma'am, 7B.
Ma'am, 7B.
Okay.